Mahanju ki jai, Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Gosvāmī Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Gosvāmī Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Gosvāmī Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-siddhanta-saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Pravishta Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jīva Gopal Patadasha Gunashara Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī Par ki jai, Śrī Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu ki jai, Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī Par ki jai. The Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Tika, what is it called? Durgama Sangamini? I think it's called, yeah, Sangamini ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Hari Gaur, Rase Shri Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. So, yeah, Rase Shri Mataji, as you know, I took a little break from reading Nectar of Devotion, and I actually wanted to read from the source text, Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, until we catch up to where we are in Nectar of Devotion. So, my God, the kirtan is so loud outside. Anyways, I hope that's not too distracting. Yeah, and so today I'm just going to go over Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary on the first verse, the Mangalacharan, the auspicious invocation verse of Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu. I made a video the other day, a couple days ago, going over all the words on my iPad. I was drawing it as I was speaking. And now I'm going to just read. I'm probably not going to read Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary on everything, just because I would like to get through this a little bit faster, not like take so much time. But I thought at least just on the first verse, the Mangalacharan verse, just just for the auspiciousness of our reading, we should read the full commentary just for this, just this one at least. So let me share my screen. Let's give this a more Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu ocean kind of cover. Yeah, that's better. Alright, so, let's just go over, let me see if I can, yeah, here it is. Let me just download this really quick. I can just see it like this. So, I'm going to just read this. This is a translation I made the other day for our shloka group. It's not like a very beautiful translation, but I was just trying to make the Sanskrit words very clear. So, this verse is explained in two different ways. There's the Chandra Paksha, which means, in relation to the moon, and Krishna Paksha, in relation to Krishna. So all these words have a double meaning. One meaning relating to the moon, one meaning relating to Krishna. And so in relation to Krishna, the translation I made is, he is the very form, he's the very vigraha of, oh shoot, I went to write murti here. I need to fix that, I'll fix that later. He is the very form of the flavors of all 12 rasas. So that's the first line here. Akila rasamrita murti. His splendor, his ruchi, radiates. It radiates out, bringing taraka and palika under his control. He accepts he accepts as his very own Shamala and Lalita. He endeavors to please Sri Radha. That Sri Krishna Chandra is supremely glorious. So that's in relation to Krishna. And then in relation to the moon is the very form of nectar filled with all tastes. Its splendor spreads out, thereby eclipsing the constellation of stars. It accepts the playful gestures of the night and fondly enters the Vishaka constellation in the spring season. That moon is supremely glorious. So that's just a very simple translation of both. And actually, Śrīla Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu Thakur, in his article on called "Raising the Divine Temple of the Bhagavat," he says he puts both of these translations into one. So he says, Shri Krishna Chandra is supremely glorious. He is the condensed form of all the eternal supermundane rasas. Indeed, he has not neglected the full expression of any divine sentiment. Just see how he subjugates the extremely submissive gopi Taraka, just as the vernal moon outshines a tiny star, her own effulgence totally engulfed by his brilliance. And Pali, who is also controlled by him, is just like a constellation keeping the moon at her bosom. His rays overpower her as well. When the vernal moon accepts the night sky as a playground, the atmosphere becomes ideal for love dalliance. In the same way, Shri Krishna makes Shama, who like the dark blue vault, and Lalita, who is love dalliance personified, his very own. He comes under the control of the prem of Srimati Radhika, who is the embodiment of Mahabhav and the origin of all the Yuteshwaris, all the group leaders of gopis, just as the full moon comes under the powerful influence of the Radha constellation in the spring season. Srimati Radhika's love completely eclipses and defeats him. She is his everything, without which he is just the lonely moon. So let's go back to this. So we'll just go over the Sanskrit words. Akila means entire. Rasa means, there's all these different rasas. Shantaras, Dasaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuras. And so Krishna is the object of every single ras. He is the, all rasas are, he's the object of all the different rasas. And so he's the very form of the nectar of all these different rasas. He's the embodiment of all these, of the nectar of every single ras. And actually there's 5, as you see in Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, there's 5 main rasas, and then there's 7 secondary rasas, and then there's all these different ingredients to produce ras. And so, all that's contained within the word ras. It's a very packed word. The whole book is explaining that one word, ras. So, Krishna is the very form, the very embodiment of all these rasas that will be explained in this book. And in the same way, the moon is like that. The moon is the very embodiment of all rasas, and it's said in Vedic cosmology that the moon has many different kinds of names, which mean like Sudakar, nectar giver. And it says that the moon injects nectar, it injects flavor into all the different plants at nighttime and gives it its flavor, So this is also referring to the moon. And Prasurimara means spreading out. Ruchi means splendor, effulgence, beauty. And so its splendor, effulgence, its ruchi is Prasurimara, spreading out, thereby Ruddha, thereby eclipsing Taraka, which means the stars, and Pali, the constellation of stars. But then in relation to Krishna, there's a gopi named Taraka Gopi, who's a very submissive gopi. And there's also another gopi named Palika. And she's less submissive, but she's also quite submissive. So Krishna completely controls these gopis. And these gopis both happen to be, one is in the Vipaksha group, so that's the group against Radharani's group, and Palika is in the group, the Tatashta group, the group that's neutral towards Srimati Radhika. Not favorable or not against, kind of just neutral. So then Kalita Shama Lalito. So the moon, Kalita, accepts, embraces the graceful beauty, the Lalita, the graceful beauty of Shama, of the night. But in relation to Krishna, it means Krishna accepts as his own Shamala, Shamala Saki, and Lalita Saki. So Shamala Saki is in the Suhrit Paksha of gopis. That means friendly towards Srimati Radhika. And then Lalita Saki is Swapaksha. That means in Radharani's own group. So those two meanings are here also. And then Radha Prayan Vidur Jayati. Radha Prayan, in relation to the moon, means, how is it in relation to the moon? Well, there's a special constellation called the Vishaka Nakshatra, also the Radha Nakshatra. There's 27 nakshatras, constellations, and it's the one in the springtime. It's called the Vishaka Nakshatra, also known as the Radha Nakshatra, and the moon is like that nakshatra is very dear to the moon. The moon appears most beautiful in that Vishaka Nakshatra, and so so the moon tries to please that Vishaka Nakshatra and it appears in its most beautiful way, I think, something like that. And then also Radha, of course, means Srimati Radhika. And Prayan means the beloved, and it also means one who tries to please. So Krishna is always trying to please Srimati Radhika. So we see in these different groups of gopis, it goes from most submissive to less submissive to kind of middle, like I don't know how you explain, and Lalita, who is, in Radharani's own group. But then Srimati Radhika, out of all the gopis, Krishna endeavors to please her. She's the one who's dominating Krishna. So Vidur Jayati, this is the subject of the whole, of this whole verse. And Vidhu means moon. And Vidhu, as we'll read in Jīva Gosvāmī's explanation, is written in the Amar Kosh dictionary as he who bears the Srivatsa. And Srivatsa is a curl of hair on, I think, the right side of Narayan, Vishnu, all the different incarnations of Krishna, every different incarnation. There's a Srivatsa on the chest, on the right side of the chest. So Krishna also has a Srivatsa, but in this verse, this Vidhu isn't referring to all the different incarnations. It's referring to Akila Rasamrita Murti. And all 12 rasas are only Krishna is the embodiment of all the different 12 rasas. Yeah, there's no Madhur Ras with Nrsingadev. No amorous pastimes with Nrsingadev. And etc. So that Krishna, or that moon, is Jayati, is victorious, and we'll read in Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary, it's in the present tense, is victorious. It's not that Krishna was victorious, because Krishna's pastimes are going on even now, so that's why it's in the present tense. Even though we can't see them, they're perpetually going on everywhere. In millions of universes, Krishna's pastimes are right today going on. Right now, Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, or he's lifting up Giriraj Govardhan somewhere. So, all right, so let's read Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary, now that we have a basic understanding of the verse. Alright. And this commentary, I think, might be a little bit more technical, and it's a bit long also. But I just think to give proper respect to Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī for our auspiciousness of our reading, we should go through it all. I was planning on just skipping it and then, going through the whole thing first, but I thought, nah, at least the first verse we should do. So I'll make this easier on the eyes. Let's make the text bigger so that you can read. Line spacing large. There. Is that big enough? There. Okay. So we'll say the verse together. Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu prasrimara ruchiruddhataraka-palihi kalita shama lalito vidhurjayati. Let's do it one more time. Akhilara-samrita-murti prasrimara ruchiruddhataraka-palihi kalita shama lalito radha preyan vidhurjayati. So translation. This is Bhanu Swami's translation. Actually, we don't need to read this translation. We already went. I'll read it, whatever. Krishna, the destroyer of all sin and the bestower of all bliss, the very form of the highest bliss, filled with all rasas, excels all others in glory. He brings Taraka and Palika under his control by the diffusion of his beauty. He accepts Shamala and Lalita as his equals, and he gives pleasure to Sri Radha by his excellent qualities. And now here's a translation in relation to the moon. The full moon, which destroys suffering and creates happiness by its cooling rays, shines everywhere with its excellent qualities and beauty. It is the very form of nectar, filled with all tastes. It eclipses the host of stars by its light, accepts the playful gestures of the night, and fondly enters the Vishaka constellation in the spring season. So before we start reading Jiva Goswami's commentary, I'll just do a quick Mangalacharan, I guess. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary is called Durgama Sangamani, which means Durgama means that which is hard to traverse, difficult to. Gaman means to walk, means to move. So those parts that are difficult to move through, difficult to traverse. This commentary is Sangamani, which means it helps one, it assists one. Yeah, Sang means assists, and Gamani also means to walk, but it's in the female tense of walking. Gaman is masculine, and Gamani is feminine, and it's kind of like a walking stick. If you're trying to get through a difficult rocky place walking up a mountain, then you take the help of a walking stick. So that would be like a Sangamani. So that's like Jiva Goswami's commentary is Durgama Sangamani. Shri Rupa, eternal peace incarnate, identical in mood to Sanatan, his elder brother, and whose younger brother was Shri Vallabh, is the means of my success and the good fortune of all jivas. And actually, as we read in, there's another, yeah, so this commentary is it's not always like the most complete commentary, or sometimes it's, I don't know, but I don't want to say anything bad about it, but yeah, it's not always the best. We read in, what's his name, Bhanu Gosvāmī Maharaj's commentary. He translated this commentary, and this is actually a pun. Jiva Goswami says he is the good fortune of this Jiva Goswami, and it also means the Jivas, so it has a double meaning there. And Jiva Goswami is the son of Śrī Vallabh. So it's the means of my success, and this Jiva Goswami's good fortune. Obsessed by the desire to benefit all the devotees of the Lord, the esteemed author Śrī Rupa compiled this remarkable work, the scripture called Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, using the rasas presented in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which appeared within the lotus bud of his heart. Discerning that what will be described is the most exalted among all topics. He adds to the introductory Mangala verse to indicate this, and thus announces that the whole of this work is auspicious incarnate. So Vidhu, that's the subject of this. Vidhu Jayati, right? All glories to Vidhu. Vidhu refers to Sri Krishna. Vidhu, Krishna, excels in all excellent qualities. Vidur Jayati. Though Vidhu, meaning he who is marked with the Srivatsa symbol, indicates a general form of the Lord who makes successive appearances in the world, it also indicates specifically Krishna. See, look. What's going on here? How come it's not letting me open up the footnote? It's so frustrating. Copy. Just get rid of that. No. Okay. Anyways, we're not allowed to open up the footnote there. And I have, just for assistance if we ever need to check anything. Where is it? That's so strange. I opened up. Anyways, maybe we don't even need it. Yeah, see here. This is the commentary in Sanskrit, so we can always use this to cross-reference things. I always like to see the original, even if I don't know Sanskrit that well, it just helps me. Anyways. Alright. See, this is a Sanskrit. Yadyapi vidu Shrivatsa lanchana iti samanya bhagavar avirbhava paryas tatapi vidunoti khandayati sarvadukanam attikramati sarvam cheti. Yadva vidadhati karoti sarva sukam sarva cheti nirukte saryavasane vicharyamane tatraiva vishrante. Anyways. God, I love looking at the Sanskrit. Okay. So vidhu, so it also indicates specifically Krishna. The reason is this. Vidhu stands for vidunoti, which means he defeats. It indicates the person who transcends all suffering, or the person who surpasses all other things. Vidhu can also stand for vidadhati, which means he produces. This indicates the person who produces all happiness, or the person who causes everything. In this way, the meaning of vidhu can be derived. Considering these factors, one can come to a conclusion about the meaning of vidhu. One must conclude that vidhu means Krishna. He alone is famous for his ability to liberate even the demons, and thus destroys even their suffering. He alone is famous for his ability to surpass all others by his powers. He alone is famous for bestowing happiness, up to the greatest happiness, found in his most astounding prema. He alone is famous as Swayam Bhagavan, the original cause of everything. Therefore, his names are particularly mentioned in the Amar Kosha with great prominence, with such statements such as Vasudevasya Janaka, his father is Vasudev. All these meanings of vidhu are made clear by the verb jayati. He excels jayati all others. Okay. All these meanings of vidhu are made clear by the verb jayati, he excels all others. This means he exists with all the most excellent qualities. That indeed refers only to Krishna. The present tense is used to dispel the conception of common people that he cannot be perceived now, since he was visible only for the period of his descent. Proofs from Srimad Bhagavatam are as follows. Destroying all suffering. Vijaya Rata Kutumba Atta Tutre Dritahaya Rashimi Tat Shriyekshaniye Bhagavati Ratir Astume Mamurshur Yam Iha Niriksha Hata Gata Sarupam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:939. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with his whip in his right hand and a girdle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original form or death. As a prayer by Bhishmadev, I think, right? So that's explaining how Krishna destroys all sufferings. What was the Sanskrit for that? It was vidunoti, I think. I don't know. So now he's going through Srimad Bhagavatam, different verses explaining these different qualities of Krishna. So one is destroying all suffering, and then we'll go through surpassing all others, bestowing the greatest happiness, like that. That's what we're going through now. Acting as a source of all others, existing eternally with all excellences. So for all these things, we're getting Srimad Bhagavatam verses. So let's see. So now, surpassing all others. Swayam tasang tasangyati shayas tradisha saraja lakshmapta samastakama palim harabdish chiralokapalai kiritakote ditaparapitaha. Lord Shri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of three. He's the Lord of all kinds of threes, and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. All kinds of threes. What's that mean? That means, anyways, let's see. I mean, yeah, there's Satchidananda, there's also different kinds of threes. Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. Anyways, let's see. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. So then, bestowing the greatest happiness. Yasyananam makara kundala charukarna brajat kapola subhagam savilasahasam nityotsavam tatripur drishibhi pibantyo naryo narascha mudita kupita nimescha. So Krishna bestows the greatest happiness. Krishna's face is decorated with ornaments such as earrings resembling sharks. It's makara-shaped earrings. Sometimes people say that they're shaped like makara means dolphin, and some say that it's actually just a mythical, like a not mythical, but like a mysterious sea creature that we don't actually. Anyways, his ears are beautiful, his cheeks brilliant, and his smiling is attractive to everyone. Whoever sees Lord Krishna sees a festival. His face and body are fully satisfying for everyone to see. But the devotees are angry with the Creator for the disturbance caused by the momentary blinking of their eyes. Because for that moment, they can't see Krishna when their eyes blink. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 9:24-65. So that's describing Krishna's beauty. And bestowing everybody happiness. That's the point of all these verses. Kastrangate kalapadayata venu gita samohitarya charitana chale trilokyam trailokya sobhagamidam chaniriksharupam yargo dvijadrumamirga pulakan abhibran. Dear Krishna, what woman in all the three worlds would not deviate from religious behavior when bewildered by the sweet, drawn-out melody of your flute? Your beauty makes all three worlds auspicious. Indeed, even the cows, birds, trees, and deer manifest the ecstatic symptom of bodily hair standing on end when they see your beautiful form. Yanmartalilo paikam sayoga maya balam darshayata grihitam vismapanam swasya chaso bhagardhe param padam bhushana bhushanangam. Ooh, this is a famous one. Krishna bhushana bhushanangam. It's not that the ornaments make Krishna look beautiful. Krishna makes his ornaments look beautiful. He's the ornament of his ornaments. That's what bhushana bhushanangam means. The Lord appeared in the mortal worlds by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came in his eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. These pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those proud of their own opulence, including the Lord himself in his form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Thus, Sri Krishna's transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. Acting as those were all Krishna bestowing the great happiness. Now, Krishna acting as the source of all others. Ete changsha kalapungsam krishnastu bhagavan swayam. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That's from the first canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, verse 28. Because we remember in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam there is a long section with all these different incarnations. But then finally it comes to this verse here, 28, and it says that all these previously mentioned incarnations are just either Angsa or Kalas of Sri Krishna. So now Krishna is existing eternally with all excellences. Now there's some Śrīmad Bhagavatam verses substantiating this. Existing eternally with all excellences. Oh yeah, because, see this word here, Jayati? It was also in the first verse, Jayati. This is present tense, means is glorious, is victorious. It's present. So, Jayati Janani Vasa Devaki Janmavado Yaduvara Parishatsvar Dorbhirasyan Adharmam Stirachara Virjinaghna Susmita Shri Mukhena Rajapura Vanitanam Vardhayan Kamadevan Devam. Is this the last? I think this might be the last verse of the 10th canto. Yeah, I think it is. This is the very last verse of the 10th canto, the main canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. So Lord Krishna, and my Gurudev gives many beautiful explanations of this verse. He gives a whole class on this verse where he gets very deep into the meanings and how all of these are actually relating to Krishna and Vrindavan and all the Vrajvasis. Well, a lot of it, maybe not everything, but anyways, he explains how this verse is very much, there's an article in one of the Rays of the Harmonist magazines called, I think it's called The Ocean in the Palm of One's Hands, I think it's called. So Lord Shri Krishna lives eternally with all excellences among the cowherd men and the Yadavas, and is conclusively both the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty and the cowherd men, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious in Vraj, Mathura, and Dwarka. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert, and the suffering of separation of the inhabitants of Vraj and Dwarka. His blissful smiling face always increases the desires of the gopis of Vrindavan and women of Mathura and Dwarka. He remains eternally in this situation. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:90-48. So now we're coming, so that was all explaining Vidhu in the verse. Now we're coming to the first line of the verse, Akila Rasamrita Murti. The cause of all these outstanding qualities, destroying all suffering, surpassing all, bestowing the greatest bliss, and being the source of everything, is now being described. His unique feature, which is the cause of all the qualities in his form of supreme bliss, Amrita Murti, since he contains all 12 rasas, Akila Rasa, starting with Shanta. that sentence. Okay. His unique feature, in which is the cause of all qualities, is his form of supreme bliss. Okay, sorry. Anandamurtim upaguhya drishatma labdham hrishatvacho jahur anantam arindamadhim. Arindamadhim. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:41-28. Taking him into their hearts through their eyes, they embraced him, the embodiment of all ecstasy, Ananda Murtim, as their bodily hairs stood on end. O subduer of the enemies, they forgot the unlimited distress caused by his absence. Tvaeva nitya sukabodha tanavanante mayata udyad apiyat sadiva vabhati. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-22. This universe appears real because it is manifested by the potency of illusion and emanating from you, whose unlimited transcendental forms are full of eternal happiness and knowledge. This is a really awesome verse. This is this one that we're going to read right now. Is I read it the other day when we were going through the first verse, but this is when Krishna walks into the arena to fight the wrestlers, Chanura and Mushtika and Mathura, the time when he killed Kamsa. So when he walked into the arena, there were all different kinds of people there. And everybody saw Krishna in different ways. And so this is the verse explaining. And this shows how that same Krishna appears like a completely different person and manifests different rasas according to the sthāyi bhav, according to the fixed permanent mood of each person looking at him. So, Malanam Ashanerninam Naravarastinam Smaramurtiman. I don't know how you sing this. Kopanam Swajana Satam Shiti Bhujam Shastat Sapitro Shishu Mritur Bhuja Pater Virad Avidusham Tattvam Param Yoginam Vrishinam Paradevateti Vidito Rangam Gata Sagrajaha. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. That's Viraras, the ras of chivalry. The men of Mathura saw Krishna as the best of males. This is Vismayaras, that means astonishment. The women saw Krishna as Cupid in person. It's Madhuras. The cowherd boys as their relatives, Sakyaras and Hasyaras. So Sakyaras is, the ras of friendship, that's the primary ras of friendship, and Hasyaras is the secondary ras of laughter. So why does it say Hasyaras? Well, when the cowherd boys saw Krishna, they're like, yeah, that Krishna, he's now going to be fighting these big wrestlers, but I can even defeat Krishna. I've defeated Krishna many times in Vrindavan. And so that's why they're laughing and joking about Krishna. The impious rulers as a chastiser, that's Rodra ras, that's a secondary rasa of anger. His parents as their child, and so that's Vatsalya ras, so that's the primary ras of parenthood, and the secondary ras of compassion, Karuna ras. The king of the Bojas as death, Bhayanaka ras, that means fear, like fright, dread. And the unintelligent saw him as the Supreme Lord's universal form, Bibhatsaras. That means disgust, doesn't it? Or ghastliness? Interesting. I don't understand that one. Anyways. And the yogis as the absolute truth. That's Shantaras. That's like with passivity. And the Vrishnis saw Krishna as a supreme worshipable deity. That's Dasyaras. So that was from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 43, verse 17. What's the footnote say? In this example, the Viraras, Bhayanakaras, Rodras, and Bibhatsarasas are only abhasas, since they appear in the inimical demons. Okay, they're only semblance of these secondary rasas. Tasmat Krishna eva paro devas tam dhyayet tam raset tam bhajet tam yajet. That's from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad 148. Therefore, Krishna is the Lord beyond the material modes. One should meditate upon him, relish him, serve him, and worship him. So now we're coming to the second line of the verse. Prasrimara ruchi ruddha taraka palihi. Prasrimara means spreads out. Ruchi means splendor. Ruddha means eclipsing. And taraka means the gopi taraka. And pali means the gopi palika. Or it can also mean Pali, constellation of taraka, of stars. One sees the superiority of his appearance in this world through the supreme position of his followers who are endowed with the highest quality of rasas. This reaches its highest degree with those persons endowed with the supreme conjugal ras, and thus the Mangala verse depicts Krishna's relationship with the gopis. Gopyas tapa kim acharanyar amushya rupam lavanyasaram asamordhamananya sedham Drigbi pibantanusavabhinavam durapam ekanta dhama yashriya aishwarasya. What austerities the gopis must have performed! With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of Krishna's form, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:44-14. Trailokya Lakshmika Padam Vapur Dadat. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-14. His transcendental body, the exclusive abode of beauty and opulence within the three worlds, shone brilliantly as the gopis worshipped him. Tatratishu Shubhe, and this is explained in my Gurudev's Damodarashtakam book, about how Krishna manifests himself in different ways according to the devotees in front of him. According to the love of the devotee, he'll manifest himself in that way. And so Krishna's most beautiful form is how he appears in front of the gopis, because the gopis have the most love for him. And Krishna appears different before each gopi. Like they each see him in a different way according to her love. Tatrati shubhe tabir bhagavan devaki sutha madhe maninam haimanam mahamarakato yatha. In the midst of the dancing gopis, Lord Krishna appeared most brilliant, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-6. The chief 10 among all the gopis are described in the Uttara section of the Bhavishya Puran. Gopali Palika, Dhanya Vishakanya, Tanishtaka, Radhanuradha, Somabha, Taraka, Dashami, Tatha. The 10 gopis are Gopali, the head of a group friendly with Chandravali, and Palika, friendly with Chandravali. So that means Tashta. They are what's the word? They are neutral towards Srimati Radhika, but they're friends with Chandravali. And Chandravali, is Vipaksha, completely against Radharani. It's doing that thing where I can't open up there. There. According to Radhakrishna Ganadesh Dipika, Gopali, Palika, and Bhadra are friendly to Chandravali. That would make them neutral gopis. Right. And then there's Dhanya, an unmarried gopi. Come on. I don't know why this thing is being so crazy. There. Okay, that's Ujjalini Namani. Vishaka, Radha Saki with her own group. So that's a Swapaksha gopi. As well as Danishta, Lalita Saki. Anyways, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to read all these footnotes because this is being dumb. Okay. Anyways, I don't need to read all these footnotes. Then there's Radha, Lalita, Anuradha, Chandravali, who is Somabha, Radha's chief competitor, Taraka, Radha Saki, somewhat distant, and Dashami. That's interesting. Taraka is described here as being Radha Saki but somewhat distant. But I've heard that Taraka is a Vipaksha Gopi. Let's see what the footnote says. She is mentioned in Vidagdha Madhav 726. However, Mukunda Goswami in his commentary says that Taraka and Palika represent the opposing and neutral groups. Okay, yeah, so Mukunda Goswami says that Taraka is Vipaksha and Palika is Tatastha Paksha. Another reading is Vishaka Dhyana Nishtika instead of Vishakanya Danishtika. Because of the word Tata, Dashami can refer to Taraka. Taraka is also called Dashami, the 10th. However, Dashami can also refer to the name of a separate gopi. In the Dwarka Mahatma and the Prahlad Samhita of the Skanda Puran, starting with the words Lalito Vacha, a different list of the 8 chief gopis is given. These are Lalita, Radha's chief Saki, Shamala, in the Suhrit Paksha, Shaibya, one of Chandravali's chief Sakis, so that would be in the Vipaksha group, Padma, the chief Saki of Vipaksha, then Bhadra, and in common with the previous list, Radha, Dhanya, and Vishaka. With the intention of showing the devotees with the highest ras, and in order to show the successive superiority of rasas and pairs of chief gopis, Rupa Goswami first mentions the 2 gopis Taraka and Pali, who are of lesser stature among the chief gopis, and points out the excellence of ras by their example. So there's a footnote. Taraka is a less prominent gopi of Radha's group, and Palika is a gopi favoring Chandravali. Palika may be classed as belonging to the neutral or opposing group. Okay. And you'll notice in all these groups, the ones that are more favorable towards Radharani, the more they are favorable towards Radharani, that's the more powerful. That's the more they control Krishna. It's the more powerful their love is. Alright. So Rupa Goswami first mentions these 2 gopis, and then points out the excellence of ras by their example. Krishna controls Rudha, Taraka, and Pali by his beautiful features, by his ruchi, which radiate outwards, prasrimara. The name of Palika is derived according to the rule samgyayam, kan. The suffix ka added after a word with the meaning of contemptible or to denote an object of compassion, when the final word is a name. Okay, anyways, it's Panini, Sanskrit, rule, whatever. Thus the word Pali, protector, becomes Palika, little ruler. Sometimes instead of Palika, she is called Pali, as in this verse. So that was the second line. Now we're going to the third line of the verse. Kalita Shama Lalita. The 2 chief gopis of medium statuses are then described. Krishna accepts Kalita, Shama, and Lalita, making them his very self. Shamala is in a Suhrit Paksha, but what's this 12th footnote here? Shamala belongs to the group, the Suhrit Paksha, and Lalita belongs to Swapaksha. They are dearer to Krishna than the previous 2 gopis. Yes, that's obvious. Okay. Radha Preyan. Now this is on the 4th line. Radha Preyan. Then the supreme among the chief gopis is mentioned. Krishna gives most pleasure to Radha, Radha Preyan. The meaning of Preyan is derived as follows. Panini's rule is ego pada gyaprikaraka. To form a noun from the verb form, after a verb ending in a consonant but preceded by I, U, Ri, short or long, and after the verb gya, pri, and ke, the affix ka, the syllable a, is added. Panini 3-1-1. Thus, pri, meaning to please, becomes the agent noun priya, he who endeavors to please. Preyan, the comparative form of priya, means he who endeavors to please to the utmost. See, that shows how much Srimati Radhika is dominating Krishna. He endeavors to his utmost ability to try to please her. In consideration of Radha's most extraordinary nature, she is not described in a similar way as the 2 other pairs of gopis. In the first 2 pairs of gopis, Krishna is the agent of enjoying, but in the case of Radha, he gives pleasure to her. Therefore, she must be considered to be the chief gopi. This fact is mentioned in the Padma Puran, Kartik Mahatma, in describing Radha Kund. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. Radha's Kund is as dear to Radha's Kund is as dear to the Lord as Radha herself. She alone among all the gopis is dearest to the Lord. The Matsya and Skanda Puranas shows her as the main gopi in Vrindavan, though the statement is made considering her none different from Rukmini, only in the general sense that they are the same Shakti, since actually Radha is comparable to Satyabhama rather than Rukmini. Rukmini Dharavatyam tu Radha Vrindavane Vane. As Rukmini is the chief queen in Dwarka, Radha is the chief gopi in Vrindavan. In the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra it is said, Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Sangmohini Para. It's a very famous verse. Radhika is the supreme devata, non-different from Krishna. She's a supreme goddess, completely non-different from Krishna. She is the embodiment of all opulence and all beauty. She is the supreme enchanter. She enchants even Krishna, who is the enchanter of all. In the Rik Parishishta it is said, Radhaya Madhavo Devo Madhavenaiva Radhika Vibhrajante Janeshu. Among all people, Krishna eternally shines with supreme qualities in the company of Radha, and Radha shines with the supreme qualities only in the company of Krishna. It is Radha, therefore, who is described in the following Bhagavatam verse. Anaya Radhito Nunang Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yan no Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha. Certainly, this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-28. I actually just heard a class on this verse, and where it goes through, contained within this verse, within this pastime, is all the different ingredients of ras, all the rasa samagri, which we will learn about in the southern section. And in this class it went into so many details of all the different sanchari bhavs, vyabhichari bhavs, anubhavs, like that. But anyways, we'll get there in the second division of the ocean. So, second meaning of the verse. There's another meaning to the introductory verse by a play on words. Okay, so in this whole verse, we just read the explanation on the Krishna dealing with Krishna, but now we're reading this second meaning. The double meaning of words indicates a comparison, and by that, the meaning of the verse is further enhanced. Though the subject of ras is far beyond all common and extraordinary matters, people's intelligence will comprehend it only by comparing it with a specific material object. Thus, the comparison can be made to some degree, taking into consideration some similar aspects of the object of comparison. In the previous discussion concerning how do you say that? I know it's a common word. I know it. Derivation. Okay, concerning the the derivation of the word vidhu, it was concluded that the word, I know these words, I just don't know how to say them. Connoted. The derivation of the word vidhu, it was concluded that the word connoted the ability to destroy all suffering arising from pain and ignorance, darkness, and bestow all happiness. Right? We just read about that. Vidunoti, meant to destroy all kinds of ignorance, darkness. The same abilities apply to the full moon, which is the other conventional meaning of the word vidhu. The moon, in its aspect of fullness, the full moon, when it spreads its beauty, its ruchi, it spreads its prasrimara, its ruchi everywhere, is comparable to Krishna, who is the full manifestation of all qualities of God, spreading his beauty everywhere. Other objects like the sun, not having the same qualities, are not suitable objects of comparison. Thus the meaning of Vidur Jayati is the full moon destroying suffering and creating happiness shines everywhere with its excellent qualities and beauty. The present tense is used to indicate the same actions of the full moon every spring season. The similarity of the subjects of comparison, Krishna and the moon, has been shown. The similarity of attributes will be shown next. The orb of the moon murti is composed of nectar, amrita, in which there is relish and relish alone, akila ras. Using the same words to describe the moon and Krishna, there is a comparison of another aspect of the moon, its pleasing nature, to the pleasuring nature of Krishna. The full moon covers Rudha, the host of stars, Tarakapali, with its effulgence, which spreads everywhere, Prasrimara Ruchi. This aspect of the moon, which eclipses the presence of other beautiful objects by its beautiful rays, is suitable for comparison with the two beloved gopis whom Krishna controls by his beauty, which spreads everywhere. Kalita, the amorous charms of the night, Shama Lalita. The aspect of the moon embracing the beauty of the night is suitable for comparison with Krishna consorting with Shama and Lalita. Vishwa Prakash says, Shama tu gugulo aprasutangranayam cha tata soma lato shado trivrita sharika gundra nisha Krishna priyangushu Shama. So that means, Shama means the name of a particular family, a woman who has not given birth. It also means the medicinal soma plant, the trivrita plant, a species of bird, the gundra plant, night, black, and the priyangu plant. The moon is most affectionate to the constellation called Vishaka, Radha Prayan. This means that during the spring season, the full moon enters Vishaka constellation and becomes famous for its beauty at that time. This aspect of the full moon, knowing that his full glory can be revealed only by approaching the Vishaka constellation, is comparable to Krishna, knowing that his full glory is revealed only by approaching Radha. And the comparison using specifically the moon, the descriptive elements are superior to those of other objects for describing the qualities of Krishna. For instance, the sun and other objects do not possess such forms as the moon, like being full of nectar. The sun lacks the beauty of the moon in combination with the stars, since the sun causes the stars to disappear. As well, the sun lacks the accompaniment of the amorous night, which gives rise to a particular happiness, and does not manifest such fame as the moon. Here the word insurmountable, Durgama, is used in describing the commentary. Remember, Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary is called Durgama Sangamini. So the word insurmountable, Durgama, is used in describing the commentary because the text of Sri Rupa employs extraordinary ornaments and allusions and abundance for describing the states of ras. Whatever I have written, however, should completely dispel doubts in the text. The unintelligent should not reject this commentary, fearing that it is useless to try to understand the text. I, to comply with the intentions of the author, have rejected some of the alternate readings of the text. One should not think that this is objectionable, but rather, one should consider that it is the author's desire. Interesting. Alright, so that was Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary on the first Mangalacharan verse by Śrīla Rupa Goswami. And there are two other commentaries. There's a commentary by Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there's a commentary by Madhusudan Goswami, and there's also a very short commentary by Śrīla Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But we're just going through Jiva Goswami's commentary. Anyhow, that's it for today. It's 8:16 p.m., so I'm going to stop here. Thank you for joining me. Oh wow, there's two more people there. Haribol Raseshwari connoted. Okay, thanks. Alright. Jai Shishi. I'm just going to do a quick Jai Dvani because it's late. Jai Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Śrī Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Śrī Rupa Gosvāmī Pad ki jai, Śrī Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu ki jai, Śrī Jīva Gosvāmī ki jai, Jīva Gosvāmī's Tika Durgama Sangamani ki jai, Śrī Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Akhila Rasamrita Murti Śrī Krishna Chandra ki jai, Śrī Vrishabhananandini Śrīmati Radha Thakurani ki jai, Śrī Saparshad Śrī Gaur Hari ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So now that we've gotten through these, this first Mangalacharan verse, there's a few more Mangalacharan verses which are a lot shorter. The commentary is not so long on them either. And but tomorrow is Lalita Saptami. What day is it? It's the 12th. Yeah, tomorrow's Lalita Saptami. So tomorrow in the morning and in the evening. Yeah, in the morning and in the evening, I'm going to read about the glories of Srimati Radhika. And also of Lalita Devi. So, or maybe no, I don't know actually, I need to figure it out. I think I might just read about Srimati Radhika for 3 days. I'd like to hear what you guys think though, also. But I'll also read in the evening about her. And then, the day after Radhashtami, the day after that, then we'll continue with our Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu classes. All right. Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Hari Bol. No problem, Pradyumna Prabhu. Hari Bol, Pradyumna Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Dandavat pranams, Rup Manjari. Dandavat pranams, Aseshwari Mataji. Hari Bol.